Hi there, welcome to this series of Leaders I Love. And today I have with me Katrina Hammon, who is a partner and owner of Wynne Williams law firm in New Zealand. She specialises, correct me if I'm wrong, Katrina, in retail, supply chain and franchise licensing and commercial leasing, which of course all have been hit hard and completely disrupted through COVID-19. Are those areas correct?
That's perfect, and disruption is exactly what's been happening.
Yeah, and I know from knowing you that you help people to embrace disruption. And from where I'm sitting, with an extremely calm and compassionate manner, yet really clear, all of your, particularly through LinkedIn, all of your videos and content has had a really compassionate and gentle feel to it, but been very clear and very articulate and very practical. So you are a leader who I love for your stability and the compassion you're providing. And I would say in doing that, you're providing hope too. So thank you for what you've been doing, and thank you for speaking with me here today.
Thank you. That's very kind.
Speaking of disruption and embracing change, you started Wynne Williams just 2 days before New Zealand went into lockdown, or what I like to call in my home retreat. So how have you, or how did you, approach the building of trust within your new team and your clients without having met any of them?
So I had a couple of days in the office, and it's quite funny now. I'm sort of helping lead the re-entry to the office, and to be honest, I couldn't remember if the floor covering was carpet or wooden floors, and we were going to lay tape. So that's how fresh I am in terms of the office. But in terms of managing like that ability to, I guess, build trust and connect with the team, firstly, I'd had quick sort of micro conversations with people. The other leaders in the business I'd got to know quite well in the process of making that decision to join the partnership. But the team trust building, I think, to be honest, has been easier because had I have been travelling to Sydney and Melbourne and Perth and then up to Washington DC would have been lovely, I wouldn't have connected with all these people like I have. So we've put in place some really good tools to keep that sense of team and connection across the Auckland and Christchurch corporate teams. And we're having Zoom calls every morning, and that's a little more operational, like checking on people's workload and making sure work's distributed fairly so we don't have someone overworked and someone else getting a bit bored. And then in the evening, I think this is the most important part of building that trust and connection, was making one-on-one phone calls to team members. So we'd take, each partner would take sort of 3 or 4 people that we would ring. And that was just more of a kind of like, how's your day been? How are you? And for me, I was always like, how's your family? How's your bubble? What's for dinner? And that it was a real privilege because the teams let me into their life, and likewise me, like I'll share things about the kids or frustrations or challenges. So to be honest, I think I've really got to know the team well, and they've been very generous in letting their barriers down and building that mutual trust. So I think it's probably better, which is an odd outcome and a great positive.
I think it is such a great positive. And, when we read about trust and the research behind trust, we hear or read and we know that trust is built up in small everyday moments. It's not something that just ultimately one day you win or you don't. It is those small moments. And so I love the idea of those end of the day conversations that you've been having. And knowing you a little bit as I do, I'm not surprised that you're asking about family and bubble and dinner and things like that, because I think it really speaks to the fact that you very much live a values-led life. And I do think that many people throughout this crisis and this time have turned to values and beliefs. And when I say turn to, I mean connected to what's important to them, and also asking what's important to others, to connect, as you've said, in a human way. And so I'd love to ask you what core beliefs or values you have been leaning into at this time, through this time, and how they've helped you to not only build that trust, but also hold yourself steady and anchored in this very disruptive time.
Yeah, that's a big question. So I'd reflected on what values were important to me. So just after Christmas, when I was setting my 90-day plan for this, move into a new partnership and a new team, and I had, success and respect and fun as some of those fundamental values. But to be honest, that sort of it's not changed. Those values are still there, but I've had to lean in on other values which were always high on the list, like connection and kindness and caring, and that the things that you kind of just do naturally, but there's a greater sense of awareness at the moment in terms of like those questions like how are you feeling, making sure people know it's okay that this disruption is quite challenging for all of us. But I've also had to, like with that value of respect, I've had to, I guess, focus on self-respect quite a bit, because it has been really stressful for me as well. And like as a mum and a leader and a new leader in a business, I've had to really make sure I've allowed that time for me to just chill down and reflect on my day, and also just process some of the quite challenging conversations with clients. And whether it's a large corporate, you've got a CEO who's quite, upset about making people redundant, or a small business owner who's saying, I'm going to lose my retirement savings, or our family home is now on the line. Like that stuff affects you. Like I don't think it would, I couldn't advise people if I didn't feel that. So I've needed time to process that. So self-respect has had to stay high on the list, as well as that real focus on making sure the team and the clients are okay, I guess.
I love that you've said that, because in this time over these last few weeks, I've seen an outpouring of, compassion and generosity and love from so many people to others. I was just interviewing this morning the world's expert in self-compassion, Dr. Kristen Neff, and we talked about exactly what you have just talked about, self-respect, and how actually self-compassion and self-care, kindness, all of the words that you've used, they're not necessarily soft and gentle. It's actually fierce to commit to yourself, to bring yourself the time and the space to, have that element of self-care and self-compassion. So it's great that you bring that up, because so many people are giving so much of themselves and working long hours and working hard to help others. But we have to fill our own cups first so that we can have the reserves of love and energy and patience to give to others. I think it's so important.
And when a client's in need, the last thing they want is for their advisor to get on the phone frazzled, stressed, not bringing that, like you referred to, being anchored and calm. I'm generally always pretty calm, and I've always had practices in place to make sure that I bring that calmness, because I actually believe we're not really, and we're paid for the legal advice, but we're paid for that presence and that gut feel direction, as well as the technical legal advice. So it's quite important, in teaching younger lawyers how to build that resilience and strength to not absorb clients' problems as our own is also quite challenging.
Challenging, but so important. And you've touched on so many different roles here that you play in terms of connecting to self, looking after yourself, you as a person in your own right, being a business owner, being a team leader, having your clients. But also you mentioned that you are a mum, and I know that family and community are extremely integral to who you are. So as a leader in business and in community, what do you think is the most important quality that any one of us can possess and express, especially in this time?
Yeah, and in this time it has to be kindness, and just having that sort of self-awareness to listen to others instead of sort of leading with the loud voice. I think it's really a time for leaders to listen. But it's also a really important time to be positive and continue to grow others. So, you know, as a leader, you've got to always grow and try and bring that sort of positive drive to a business or a community. But yeah, to bring some positive energy is really important. So I've been quite conscious of remaining positive in our home for our children. And to be honest, they love the lockdown, and so do we, because we've had this beautiful time all as a family.
Yeah.
But then that extended family, keeping the extended family positive and connected. And we've been lucky. We've got like a market garden on the family farm up north, and we've been distributing food to some of our family members and flowers and some meat out of the freezer. So that sense of connection and caring and awareness of what other people's needs might be has been, it's been also quite a fun aspect of this strange lockdown situation that we're in.
Yeah, I
that
think
answers the question.
Oh no, absolutely, absolutely. And one thing that you keep bringing through all of your answers is that word connection. And I think so many of us are experiencing unexpected and surprising and quite delightful ways to connect with others that we wouldn't have had the opportunity to do, or perhaps we wouldn't have taken the opportunity to do, which is exactly what you're talking about. And I think it's really important to actually take that time and pause to reflect on how we are connecting to ourselves and to others. And as you say, and you did answer the question because you talked about positivity, and I think that's really interesting. I spoke to Rick Hansen as part of this series also. He is the world's expert in resilience, and he has a particular scientific practice he calls positive currency, which just very briefly is all about sitting in the moment, reflecting on something good that has happened. So for example, we might say this wonderful way that you've connected with your community up north. And instead of in your mind just cognitively thinking, that was really good, a great experience, you actually sit in the experience and close your eyes and recall and relive the experience and really notice the feelings in your body. And when you do that, what he says is we're building up our psychological bank account, our emotional bank account, because positivity and any other positive quality that we recall and relive is a psychological strength. And to your point, positivity in that way and lived out in that way can cultivate resilience, which you've also mentioned. So I agree with you. It's not always easy to be positive, but if we can look at some of the gifts in this time and really sit in the feeling of those positive experiences, we can cultivate resilience through this.
Yeah, and then also just that sense of gratitude, and that's been something which I've tried to sort of bring through in conversations, particularly with the team, and around the dinner table with the kids. We're always talking about like what was awesome today, or what are we thankful for. So that, you know, that sense of gratitude, that also, you know, we've got people who are you know, in the community in some really tough situations, and it might sound a bit fluffy to, you know, you should be still thinking of gratitude and being thankful, but there's still a lot to be thankful for. And I think members of our team, in terms of our work team, have been really thankful to, you know, still have their job and to be able to work from home right through this, and to have a board and partners that care for them. You know, that there's a lot to be grateful for. And I think that's really helped to sort of stop feeling so, you know, sense of flat, or my God, this lockdown's wearing a bit thin, and the announcements come, and then it's still 2 more days to get the freedom that you're looking for. But yeah, I think gratitude's also as important as that positive energy.
Yeah, absolutely. And the science also says, as you would know, that a practice of gratitude also increases resilience, which really is strength. That's what we're talking about. It's that inner strength. And it brings to mind, of course, our New Zealand saying, which is kia kaha. And it is a phrase that is well used in times like this. And so I'm wondering, what does that word mean to you?
Yeah, it's not something that I say often, to be honest, and I think sometimes it might be used too much in global marketing and things because it is so powerful. And if you say it with intent and with the care of really wanting someone to be strong, kia kaha would to me mean, you bring your strength, your inner strength, and the strength of all those around you. Like, bring your whole strength. Please bring your whole strength. But I'd also sort of say it with, I guess, an expectation of don't just be strong yourself. Bring others with you. Like, encourage everyone around you to be strong. And I think that's sort of the meaning of care, is to encourage. So it's not just telling someone to be strong. It's saying, you bring your full strength, but you should be bringing others with that strength and encourage strength in others. And that probably, I think, would be a really accurate use of the word in my view. Yeah.
Thank you for that, because it is used a lot, and I think it's important to go into the meaning of those words or phrases. And yeah, it's like so many words, if we do use them too much, even gratitude, which you just mentioned, we can have a daily practice of gratitude, but if we just go around saying, I'm grateful for this, I'm grateful for that, it does tend to lose power.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So thinking and building on the positive path that we are taking in this conversation, you say that embracing disruption creates opportunities. So is there something, or what did you perhaps never consider before COVID-19 or not foresee that now seems possible?
There's so much that's changed, and I've found it, like, I've been respectfully excited about some of the opportunities, because I do like to find opportunities in disruption. But the biggest learning for me, and probably for the profession, has been the ability to build relationships and provide, caring and relevant advice via Zoom and telephone, instead of, face-to-face meetings, which obviously have their place. I think that's the biggest learning from a professional sense, is that relationships and work can still work remotely. And hopefully that means that dinosaurs in the legal profession that think that flexible work doesn't work, or that we can't be paperless and really make less of an impact on the environment, those things are possible, and we've been forced to prove that they work. But yeah, on a personal level, I think I've been surprised with how content and calm I've been with being so restricted. And although, I'm quite a private person and I've got that energy around family and connecting with people, I've realised how much I love just to be still and just to be home and hanging with the kids and my husband. It's been a bit of a blessing, actually.
And that's, that is gratitude right there, isn't it? Just being grateful for the gifts that have come to us in this time, which were always under our nose. We spend so much time away from our family at work, and perhaps we just don't need to anymore. There are new ways of working. There are new possibilities, not just for us and our work teams, but also for those that we work with. And for you are an expert in the retailing and commercial leasing space, so I wonder if there is any last thought or comment that you would like to offer to any retailers out there who are watching this.
It's hard. It's really hard in retail at the moment, and resilience and sort of ability to pivot and be creative with your business is one thing, but the financial strain is the part which, no matter how creative and positive you are, there's a limit to debt funding and a limit to what relief a landlord, for an example, can offer. But I think, just having that ability to be brave and to, try e-commerce, get online if you're not already, and reach out to experts, and you'd be surprised how many people will help if you just put up your hand and ask. And I've been doing lots of that, and that's fine. Like, just say that you need help and people will help you, I think. But retail will bounce back. Consumer behaviour hasn't changed that much in this period of time. So patience, if financially you can and just being open to change will really help retailers.
Mm. And that point about being willing to ask for help, it can be so vulnerable to ask for help. And people, when we are vulnerable, we are in a state of heightened emotional risk,
Oh,
emotional
yeah,
exposure. But as you say, there are so many people out there who are ready and available and willing to help. And you have been doing that. You are one of those people. And I'm sure I can speak on behalf of so many of those retailers when I say thank you for not just what you're putting out there, the advice and the offer to help, but the way that you are doing it with so much calm and so much compassion. I know so many people will be grateful for it. So thank you on behalf of them, and thank you from me for speaking with me today.
it's been an honour. Thank you very much.
Have a really wonderful day, and I hope that things go forward as you would like them to, in a new and opportunistic way, and you can spend a little bit more time with those kiddies of yours.
Absolutely, I'm loving it.